The snowstorm roared across the valley, swallowing the ranger's voice before it reached the mountains. Through the blur of white, she saw it, something small dragging itself through the drifts. A cub, but not white this time. Its fur was streaked with ash and blood. "No, not again," she whispered, running forward. When she knelt beside it, the cub's paw lifted weakly, pressing against her glove as if begging her not to leave. Behind them, a gunshot cracked through the wind, and for the first time, she realized someone else was hunting tonight. The wind carved through the valley like a living thing, screaming against the cliffs as if warning her to turn back. Ranger Alara pulled her scarf tighter, her breath fogging in the frozen air. For 3 weeks, she had been patrolling the northern range, an endless stretch of snow and silence, where even the sun seemed afraid to rise. Her mission was simple: track migration routes before the next storm season. But in the wild, simple never stayed that way for long. She trudged forward, boots sinking into the white crust, her radio crackling with static. "Base command, this is North Unit." Visibility dropping fast, she said, but only the wind answered. Somewhere behind her, the peaks groaned beneath the weight of the storm. Then she saw it again, the faint movement ahead, half buried in snow. The cub, Alara, dropped to her knees. The small creature lay trembling, its fur a strange mix of silver gray and soot, as if born from both snow and fire. "Hey, it's okay," she whispered, reaching slowly. The cub's sides rose and fell in shallow breaths, its eyes barely open. Its paw shifted again, brushing against her wrist. That tiny touch felt like a plea. She scanned the horizon. No sign of mother, no tracks except the cub's faint trail that vanished into the storm. "Where's your family?" she murmured. Only the wind replied. She pulled off her outer glove, feeling the cub's cold fur beneath her fingertips. Too cold, too weak. Instinct took over. She slid her pack off, unzipped the insulated liner, and tucked the cub inside against her chest. The warmth of her body made it stir faintly, a tiny sound escaping its throat, a sound so soft it almost broke her. Alara rose, turning toward the distant ridge where her base lights should have been. But the storm had erased everything. No sky, no path, just endless white. She took a breath that burned in her lungs and started walking anyway. Minutes turned to hours. The snow deepened, and the cold gnawed through her layers. Once, she thought she saw movement far behind her, dark figures shifting in the storm. Her heart tightened. Poachers, maybe. The rumor had spread for months. Hunters chasing after something rare, something worth millions. She clutched the cub tighter. "Don't worry, little one," she whispered through chattering teeth. "I've got you." Somewhere ahead, through the storm's fury, a faint glow flickered, the outline of her cabin on the ridge. Relief flooded her, sharp and fleeting. She forced her legs to keep moving. She didn't know yet that saving the cub would mean crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. The door slammed behind her, cutting off the wind like a blade through silence. Alara stood inside her small wooden cabin, lungs burning, arms wrapped protectively around the shivering bundle under her jacket. Snow melted in her hair, dripping onto the wooden floor. For a long moment, she just listened to the ticking of her heater, to her own heartbeat, and to the faint, fragile sound of breathing beneath her coat. She laid the cub gently on a wool blanket near the heater. Its fur was crusted with ice and mud. She pulled off her gloves and reached for a flask, pouring a bit of warm water into a tin cup. The cub sniffed weakly, then licked the edge, each motion desperate and slow. "There you go," she murmured, her voice soft, almost maternal. "You're safe now." Up close, the creature looked even stranger. Its coat wasn't just gray. It shimmered faintly when the firelight touched it, like snow reflecting moonlight. And its eyes, amber, not brown, not gold, but something in between, seemed almost human. She traced a gentle hand along its neck, noticing faint wounds hidden beneath the fur. Scratches. Row burns. Her stomach turned cold. "Poachers," she whispered, jaw tightening. That explained the noise she'd heard in the storm. And if they were nearby, they wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted. She moved quickly, sealed the shutters, dimmed the light, double-checked her tranquilizer pistol. Outside, the wind howled like an animal, but inside, a fragile peace settled. The cub was sleeping now, curled up near the fire, breathing steady. She wrapped herself in a blanket and watched it, exhaustion pulling at her eyes. But sleep wouldn't come. Instead, her mind kept drifting back to her first rescue years ago, a wounded eagle tangled in barbed wire. Her mentor had told her then, "You don't save wild things because they need you. You save them because somewhere inside, you still believe the world's worth fighting for." She hadn't understood it then. Tonight, she did. A soft sound broke her thoughts. The cub stirred, letting out a small cry. Fear, confusion, maybe pain. Alara crawled closer. "Sure, it's okay. I'm right here." The cub opened its eyes, staring at her with that impossible, knowing gaze. It raised its paw again, pressing it against her hand like it had in the snow. Something inside her broke open, a bond she couldn't explain, didn't even try to. She smiled through tired eyes. "You're a fighter, huh? I should call you Ash." The cub blinked slowly, as if agreeing. But the peace didn't last. Her radio crackled suddenly to life, the static sharp in the silence. "Ranger Alara, this is Ridge Base. We've received movement reports, possible hunters near your sector. Do you copy?" She grabbed the mic. "Copy. I have an injured cub in my care. Unknown species. I believe it's what they're after." A pause. Then, "Understood. Lock down and stay put. Reinforcements en route. ETA 1 hour." She exhaled shakily. 1 hour. That might be enough, if the storm held, if the men didn't track her first. She turned to look at Ash, now sleeping soundly again. For the first time since finding him, she realized just how quiet the cabin had become. Too quiet. Then she heard it, faint footsteps crunching outside the cabin walls. Her pulse spiked. The storm hadn't driven them away. It had led them straight to her. The world outside her cabin was a storm of white and shadow. Alara moved toward the window, careful not to make sound. Through the frost-covered glass, faint shapes shifted in the distance. Dark figures weaving through the blizzard, flashlights slicing through the snow like knives. Her throat tightened. "They found me." She crouched beside the heater, listening. Every second stretched thin, broken only by the wind and the beating in her chest. The cub, Ash, stirred slightly on the blanket, giving a soft whimper. Alara pressed a finger to her lips. "Shoo, stay quiet, little one." A beam of light swept across her window, then disappeared. Voices followed, muffled, rough, carried by the storm. "She came this way. Tracks in by the ridge. Must have ducked into one of these huts. Remember what we're here for. The gray one's worth more than gold." Alara's stomach twisted. She could picture them, the same kind of men who left snares and creeks and traps baited with blood. She had spent her career cleaning up their cruelty. But tonight, she wasn't cleaning up. She was standing between them and a creature that had already lost everything. She moved to the small crate under her table, pulling out her emergency kit. Inside, a flare, a knife, 2 tranquilizer darts. Not enough. Not for what was coming. The cabin creaked. Footsteps. Closer now. The door handle rattled once, then again, harder. Alara froze. Her fingers found the pistol at her hip. "Anyone in there?" A voice called. Male mocking. "Ranger, maybe? We're just looking for a lost cub. No need to hide." Silence. Then bang. The lock snapped. The door swung open, snow blasting in. 2 men stepped through, rifle slung, faces half hidden by scarves. Alara raised her pistol instantly. "Don't move." The taller one laughed. "Easy, sweetheart. We're not here for you." His eyes slid to the cub on the blanket. "We're here for that." Ash whimpered, crawling back weakly. "Step away from him," she said, voice low but steady. The shorter man cocked his head. "You don't understand, do you? That's not just a cub. It's a freak of nature. A prize. People would kill for it." "I noticed," she muttered. The tall one smirked. "Then you know what happens next." He raised his weapon slightly, but Alara was faster. The tranquilizer dart flew, striking him in the shoulder. He swore, stumbling back as the chemical kicked in, his gun clattering to the floor. The other man shouted and fired a shot. The bullet tore through the wall beside her head. She dropped behind the table, wood splintering around her. Ash cried out, terrified. Alara rolled, aimed, fired again. The dart missed, hit the wall. She cursed, heart hammering, then grabbed the cub, tucking him into her jacket. Smoke rose from the heater. One of the bullets had punctured its pipe. Sparks hissed into the air. I can't stay here. She darted for the back door, shoving it open into the storm. Snow lashed her face, freezing her skin raw. She heard shouting behind her, then boots crunching fast. Alara, one voice mocked. You think you can run in this? She didn't answer. She ran. The storm swallowed her, white on white, endless howling. She could barely see 2 meters ahead. Each step was agony, her legs heavy, her breath cutting like ice. She clutched Ash tighter against her chest, feeling his heartbeat flutter fast. Keep moving. Don't stop. The sound of the hunters faded, then returned, closer. Flashlights flickered somewhere behind her, ghostly, relentless. She veered toward the ridge, where jagged rocks jutted out like teeth from the snow. If she could make it to the canyon, maybe she could lose them. Thunder cracked overhead. The wind screamed. And then she saw it. A dark opening carved into the cliff face. A cave. She stumbled toward it, half blind, half frozen. Inside, the air was still, the storm muffled to a distant moan. She collapsed to her knees, breathless, setting the cub down gently. Ash stirred weakly, blinking up at her. His fur shimmered faintly in the darkness, reflecting the firelight glow from her trembling hands as she lit a small flare. You're okay, she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she believed it. Her hands shook as she pressed her back to the wall, trying to catch her breath. For a few moments, the only sounds of the storm outside and the faint crackle of the flare. Then a noise. Footsteps again, echoing faintly through the cave mouth. She extinguished the flare instantly. Darkness swallowed them. Light beams danced across the cave walls. Voices echoed, low and sharp. She's here. I saw her tracks. Keep your lights low. We want them alive. Alara's fingers brushed her last tranquilizer dart. One chance. That was all she had. She could feel Ash trembling against her leg. Shoo, she mouthed silently. The first man entered, scanning the shadows. His light swept across the stone and froze when it caught her eyes. He opened his mouth to shout, but the dart hit first. His body stiffened, then fell. The second man fired blindly into the dark. The shot ricocheted, sparks flashing. Alara rolled behind a boulder, heart pounding. The cub whimpered. The hunter turned toward the sound. Got you. Before he could fire again, a roar thundered through the cave. Deep guttural alive. The man froze. Alara's breath caught in her throat. From deeper in the cave, a massive shadow moved, fur pale as frost, eyes burning gold. The mother. The roar filled the cave like thunder, trapped inside stone. It wasn't just sound, it was power, grief, fury, and love rolled into one terrible voice. The poacher froze mid-step, the color draining from his face. His flashlight beam trembled across the cavern wall until it caught the creature emerging from the dark. She was enormous, her fur glistening with frost and blood, muscles rippling beneath her coat. A mother bear, not white, not brown, but the same ghostly gray as the cub Alara carried. Her golden eyes burned through the dark, fixed not on the intruder, but on the trembling bundle behind Alara's leg. Ash, Alara breathed. The cub gave a small, broken cry. The sound shattered whatever silence remained. The poacher fired. The bullet screamed past Alara, sparking off the stone. The bear lunged. Her roar shook dust from the ceiling as she hit the man with her full weight. His flashlight exploded against the rocks. Alara ducked, shielding her face from the debris. The cave flashed in strobing bursts of gunfire, then went dark again. The screams that followed were brief and final. Then silence. Alara's breathing was ragged. The flare light flickered weakly, painting the cave in pulses of red and shadow. The bear stood over the man's motionless body, chest heaving, blood streaking her flank where an old wound had reopened. For a second, Alara saw not rage, but exhaustion, an ancient sadness in those eyes. "It's okay," she whispered, raising her hand slowly. "He's gone. You're safe now." The bear's head turned toward her. The tension in the air thickened. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she didn't. She stepped forward, slow and steady, her gaze never leaving the animals. "Look, I'm not here to hurt you. He is." She pointed toward the fallen rifle, its barrel still smoking. The bear lowered her head slightly, breath heavy, ears twitching. Alara swallowed hard. "You've been following the storm, haven't you? Looking for him." She looked down at the cub. "He's alive. He made it." Ash whimpered again, trying to crawl toward his mother. Alara knelt and gently set him down. The cub stumbled forward, weak but determined. When the mother saw him, something in her body broke. The tension melted into sound, a low, trembling growl that wasn't anger this time. It was relief. The cub pressed against her chest, pawing at her fur. The great bear leaned down, nudging him softly, a sound escaping her that made Alara's throat tighten, a mother's cry, raw and human. Alara sank to her knees, tears stinging her eyes. "You found each other," she whispered. But the moment didn't last. The mother staggered, collapsing slightly to one side. Blood pooled beneath her shoulder, dark against the pale fur. The wound was deep. Too deep. "No." Alara crawled closer, pulling her medkit from her pack. "Not now, not after this." The bear's breathing came in shudders. Alara tore open a gauze roll, pressing it against the wound. "You're not dying tonight. Not after everything you've done to get here." The bear twitched but didn't strike. Ash pressed himself close to her face, whining softly, as if pleading for her to stay. Alara worked fast, cleaning the gash, packing it with gauze, wrapping it tight with her last bandage. Her hand shook, blood soaking through her sleeves. "It's okay," she murmured. "I've got you. Just hold on." Thunder rumbled outside the cave, the storm softening into steady rain. Her radio crackled faintly at her waist, just static, then a voice breaking through. "Ranger Alara, do you copy?" Her heart leapt. She grabbed the mic. "This is Alara. I found them both, the cub and the mother. The mother's injured, critical condition. Need medical evac ASAP." "Copy that," the voice replied. "But the storm's grounding all flights for another hour. Hold position. Can you keep her stable?" Alara looked at the bear, then at her trembling hands. "I'll try." She put the radio down and turned back, wiping her forehead. Her breath trembled. The mother bear's eyes flicked open again, dull, weary, but aware. "Stay with me," Alara whispered. "He needs you." The bear's head lifted weakly, her gaze falling on Ash, who whimpered and pressed his tiny head against her paw. The sight cracked something open inside Alara. She realized she wasn't just saving an animal. She was witnessing something sacred, the kind of love that didn't need words, that existed long before humans ever wrote about it. Minutes blurred. Alara kept pressure on the wound, whispering softly to keep herself awake. "You're strong. You've already survived worse. Just breathe." When the rain outside turned to mist, the bear's breathing steadied. The blood flow slowed. Alara leaned back, exhausted, her hands shaking. She looked down at Ash, who had curled against his mother's side, small chest rising and falling in rhythm with hers. The storm's echo had faded into silence, replaced by the distant drip of water from the cave ceiling. She had done everything she could. The rest was up to nature and luck. Then came a sound that froze her blood. Engines. Distant, muffled, but real. She crawled toward the entrance, peering through the rain. Headlights flickered in the valley below, 2 trucks winding through the ravine. Not rescue vehicles. Too dark. Too quiet. Her pulse spiked. "No," she whispered. "Not again." She turned back toward the bears. The mother stirred, sensing it too. Her ears perked. The cub whimpered. Alara's voice trembled. "I won't let them take you." She grabbed her tranquilizer pistol, checked the chamber. 1 dart left. 1. Outside, the engines grew louder. Voices drifted up through the rain. The same men from before, or more of them. She looked down at the cub, at the wounded mother, at the blood still drying beneath her hands. Her fear burned away, replaced by something else, resolve. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "they don't get you." She stepped to the cave entrance, water running down her face, the pistol heavy in her hand. Lightning flashed. The trucks came into view, and the hunt began again. Rain fell in sheets as Alara stood at the mouth of the cave, pistol raised, every muscle trembling from cold and fear. The headlights below cut through the mist like knives. Two men stepped out, flashlights sweeping across the slope. "She's up there," one shouted. "Take the shot if you see her." Alara's breath came fast, shallow. She backed toward the bears, whispering under her breath, "Not tonight. Not him. Not ever again." The cub whimpered softly. The mother lifted her head weakly, sensing the threat. Her body tensed despite the wound. Alara crouched beside her, pressing a hand gently to her fur. "You can't fight. Let me." The first figure reached the rocks below, his rifle glinting in the rain. Alara waited, just one more step. Then she fired. The dart hit true. The man shouted, stumbled, and collapsed into the mud. The second man cursed and fired back, the shot echoing through the storm. Sparks exploded off the cave wall beside her. She ducked, heart hammering. The mother bear gave a deep, guttural roar that shook the ground. Even half bleeding, she stood, massive, unyielding, ancient. The man froze, aiming again, but before he could shoot, the bear charged. The world erupted. Mud, thunder, and light blurred into chaos. When silence finally returned, the man lay motionless, his weapon half buried in the mud. The bear stumbled, breathing raggedly, collapsing back near the cave's edge. Alara ran to her side. No, stay with me," she begged, pressing her hands against the wound. The mother's eyes met hers, calm, knowing. She turned her head toward the cub and gave a low sound that vibrated like a whisper through the rain. Ash crawled closer, pressing against her chest. Alara's vision blurred. "You did it," she whispered through trembling lips. "You kept him safe." The bear's breathing slowed. One final exhale, soft, steady, endless. Then stillness. Alara bowed her head, tears mixing with rain. The cub looked up at her, eyes wide, lost, searching. She gathered him into her arms, holding him close as sirens echoed in the valley below. Rescue finally arriving, too late for the one who had saved them all. When dawn broke, she stood at the ridge, Ash in her arms, watching the clouds lift from the forest. The storm was gone, but the world still smelled of rain and memory. "You're safe now," she whispered, "because she believed you were worth dying for." The cub pressed its paw against her chest, just once, before turning its gaze to the endless wild beyond. And for the first time, Alara let herself believe it too.